All right, what is up, guys? Evanaldo here. So this video is going to be a little bit different right now. I want to show you something that I've been looking at the past few days. I know a lot of my audience, people into crypto, may not be too into this, but it is very important to look at this. I'm going to give you kind of a maybe a little bit of strategy, a little bit of a way you can use this to your advantage. These charts with gold and silver, precious metals, and they're heavy, they're outdated. I agree with they just found possibly $1 trillion worth of it in Uganda, gold, not silver though. So I agree. I see the discrepancies in it. I'm more of a technical investor, a technical trader. So this is 100% worth looking at, and I think precious metals, when everybody gives up on them, like anything else, like what's happening right now, they're doing nothing pretty much. They're just bleeding a bit. They tend to have a nice rally. And we're in one of those rare times where there's high inflation, where the Fed keeps raising rates. What do we have through history? Two times where it did very, very well was the 70s. That was right here. Bam. Again, especially against the SPX, that's S&P 500. And during the Great Depression, right there, did very well against the S&P 500. Not as you would think it would have done even better during the Great Depression because of everything going on. I mean, it did come up about 500% against it, gold. And over here, 1,500%, that's a 10x, that's insane. And then here, through a nice, this was this recession, and this is the main thing I've been looking at too, is the money flow right here. So we're going to talk about gold and silver. Silver typically performs gold in these times. It's kind of like having some leverage right here. Look at the money flow on the monthly right here. Look at the money flow on the monthly, and right here. So basically, the pattern we're looking at is a ton of yellow X's. This one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. And then that money flow. So 1, 2, it's happened 3 times, and every time it gave us a nice rally, except kind of here, but this was different because obviously 1940, I mean, it did outperform it a little bit for, definitely a few years here. I mean, this was World War II, so I believe it was a high inflationary time, which it did do relatively well against the S&P 500. And the reason I compare it to against the S&P 500 is because if it can't outperform that, then what's really the point? That's the main thing we're looking at, especially going into recession right now, as we are. Gold historically, this is all the fundamentals I'll talk about right now. Gold historically does very well, so there's a lot of reasons why it can do well. And then I've compared it to the Nasdaq as well. We'll talk about that to show you why it could outperform Bitcoin for the next year or two, why it could outperform crypto for the next year or two. It's kind of crazy as well. So looking at that, looks very bullish. Gold, SPX. Let's look at gold Nasdaq, because that's worth looking at as well, because this is kind of what we would compare to see, will it outperform crypto? Right here, same thing on the monthly right here. Look at this with the money flow. Right about there. You outperformed with gold, you outperformed the Nasdaq for the next about, when was it? From '02 to 11, 9 years. About 9 years you outperformed it pretty consistently. There were some points where you didn't, but if what you're buying can't outperform the Nasdaq, then what's the isn't it outperforming the Nasdaq, then what's the point? If it can outperform the Nasdaq and the S&P 500, then I think it's a good buy. All these yellow X's, and then money flow coming up in the monthly. Looks bullish here. Could be kind of like this, just starting the rally here, starting the rally against the Nasdaq. That's gold. Let's look at silver, because silver typically does better in gold. The numbers are even crazier for silver. So this is silver against the S&P 500. 900% here. I believe, what was it for gold in that same period? I'm curious. Just want to compare it. 600%. So a little bit more volatile, a little bit more. And then silver right here. This was the big point, late 60s. We're at this point, let's do an average area. Let's say, we're getting towards that bottom area. 21x. You could have 21x your shares. I mean, who would have known to sell at the exact top? But wait till we get high into the, a few years here, a couple years, wait until you get high into the green here. You do something, say you do something like this, 2024, 2025 might be the trade to convert a lot of it into Bitcoin. Then, if Bitcoin's still kind of low in 2024, mid to early 2024 or even late 2024 before it does that its next bull run or whatever, which if history repeats itself, that's when it will start. That could be a good trade right there. Also, let's look at silver Nasdaq, because Nasdaq's the closest thing that we could kind of compare to crypto or Bitcoin right now. It outperformed this by quite a bit all the way from, this area, this general area, with where at the money flow for the following 10 years about. So if we're right here, it has potential. I'm not saying this is going to happen. If you compare silver to like Apple or Amazon, it didn't outperform them through that period. Those outperformed. So I think some cryptos will outperform it, most likely. But a lot of them may not. So what I'm thinking, a few years, and you could draw kind of, let's draw a little fib level or something. Maybe when you get up to this, back up to this, 618 level, this level, big place to look to convert some back, you'd outperform the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq most likely with silver in the next few years if we do have a recession type of, recession. And I think it's going to be a longer recession, because if you look at, let's just look at this, the SPX really are, come on, give me 1 second here. SPX, it looks like it's going to be a bit more, rather than, 08 here, where you just came down very quickly, you got your green dot in your monthly. We're about to get a green dot in the monthly, not a deep one. It looks like it's going to be more like something like this, like 01, where you get that green dot, or you get that one here. It could take even 3 green dots. So you got a green dot. We're kind of at that place. So it could be 2 green dots in the monthly. It could take longer to bottom out here, which I think we're due from that. Or what it seems more likely could be something similar to this, where it's just choppy coming up and down through the 70s, where gold and silver just directly outperforms it. That's what could be possible too. It could be a rough time for, some, if we're kind of at, like, say we're at this area right here, this would be interesting, because he came down 20, that 26%, then he came up. That was a weird choppy market, but overall you did come down, and that reset about 50%. So if we do have something like that, maybe you could have some little rallies here and there, when that green dot confirms. I do think as long as the Fed keeps raising rates, and the rumor is they could raise it by a full, 7.5 again, or even a whole point, next week or whenever the next announcement is. So that could bring things down a bit more. That's what you really got to look at with this. Also, people are talking about, obviously cash is still trash, as somebody like Ray Dalio has said. I agree with that. You don't want to be really, really heavy cash, although, if it's going to outperform the S&P 500, you're better off with cash, at least for the short term, for the next few months or something like that, is what I would say. But an alternative, if you already have the Bitcoin that you want to have, gold and silver. Obviously, this is ever financial advice. Anything can happen. This is just, hedge your bets. I think it would be wise to have at least some type of small position in precious metals here. Now, if we look at silver, I want to show you, we've got the blood diamond here. That would scare some people away. Last time we had a blood diamond, marked a bottom. Okay, this could be the bottom. Definitely, there is potential to have a bottom here. You are hitting, some support here. You're definitely hitting some support. Or if that plays out a little bit more, which it could be, kind of like this one. If we look at the history through, the worst one, I believe, was this one, 30% down for, unless you go back to like the 1800s here, the, 1930s, something like that, 28s. Data's skewed back there, but, it would bring you down, 30% from the top here? A little bit farther, like $17. Big area to look at silver. So it may be a good dollar cost averaging area. Now, if we get into a bad recession, what happens is normally we could go back to, where was it, like 08 or whatever. It crashes in the beginning a bit, which is what's happening right now, which is pretty normal. And then you come up. So if we repeat something like that, I'm not going to draw it out, but, $15 or something, then you shoot up, which does seem pretty likely here. Now, can it outperform Bitcoin? That's kind of the question here. If we look at, let's look at gold, Bitcoin. And, you're getting to that, actually, let's look at, I want more data on this. If you go like this, we could get more data. you're getting into that green area in the monthly. Now, do I think it's going to outperform it for a while? Probably not, but do I think it could rally up enough for Peter Schiff to say he was right in the next year or two or something like that? Absolutely. Right around here. Now, does that mean you should sell all your Bitcoin and go all in on gold and silver? Absolutely not. Anything could happen. You want to hedge your bets. You want to have good risk management with everything. But to, maybe try to make the trade from the S&P 500 at least a little bit, small amounts, to gold, to silver, wait a few years, then maybe convert it back to, Bitcoin or the S&P 500. That's the trade to make. And I think you could definitely get up to here against Bitcoin. Maybe Bitcoin stays kind of sideways in 2023. You're just range bound between, I don't know, let's say 20K and 40K, for the next year or two, that general area. Maybe you have some wicks up to 50K. I mean, it's very volatile, obviously. But when it gets up to this area, then try to convert back to Bitcoin. That could be a big, big trade to make. I think ultimately in this time period, the people who are going to lose the most are probably people in the S&P 500, probably people in the Nasdaq. Nothing goes up forever. A lot of people aren't facing the reality of what's happening here. You're due to come down a bit more. You're definitely due to come down a bit more. Even if all the inflation somehow keeps us up, I do think that gold will still, these other things will still outperform it, and your buying power won't be increasing as much in the S&P 500. That's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please please subscribe to the channel. Also check out my links below with BITGET if you want to get into trading, all that. It's a new partnership I have with the channel. So have a good one, guys. Goodbye.